Greetings and welcome back once again. This is Amuna. I pray everybody is doing well. Look, man, this story I know walks straight. This story, there's a saying that the story doesn't walk straight. That means something is into something. Something like the math ain't mathing. And I know I need to stop, but it's so intriguing. Now, I went and looked at the playlist, and there are 29 videos on this playlist. And I don't know how long the initial video or the interview was, but chopping it up in this way is not a good look for Billy, though. It's not, because it's given too much time to think. You see, if you put it all together one time, you get all emotionally involved and you're like, okay, but the way in which the art of dialogue, and shout out to you, the way in which you're chopping these videos up is allowing too much thinking time. And the math ain't math. And then there's something about me. I like solving mysteries. And this one is a mystery because a new video just came out today. Now, I was looking to see if I had anybody else who had some commentary on the Dear Mama series that had came out, right? Not just like, oh, I liked it, I'm a Tupac fan, but really had some insight. And I happened upon a channel that actually had one of the original 21, Panther 21, on the channel. Okay. And the name, and shout out to this channel as well, Black Power Media, because I have been listening to his real time, because I'm a little late to the party. It happened like a month ago, back in April, where this came out. And so, hold on one second. My son is over here. Hold on one second. Hold on one second. Let me tell him not to chop so loud. Well, he stopped. So basically, when this came out, they were doing real time review. Now, this elders, I'm just listening for the 1 second, please. 1 second. Hold on. Because I'm about to get into this. When something does not add up, I make mental markers. You know what I mean? And then after that, I got to go back and put it together. But so that I don't get distracted with all this chopping in the background, give me 1-2 seconds, and then I'm going to get into this. Okay. So here we are. So the math ain't mathing, and I'm sorry to say, but this I want to talk about is Dear Daddy exploring, because the topic is Dear Mama, right? And people are like, this is not important. Why are we talking about this part? And it's interesting that as I was watching it, the elder's name is Dhoruba, right? And he's one of the original Panther 21 who was there and actually knows Afeni, right? In that whole space that Tupac has conceived. So he's a primary source, right? Because he was actually there during this time. So as I'm listening to his thoughts on the Dear Mama documentary and engaging with the host, he says stuff. He's about 70 plus years old now, but he says stuff every now and then that I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. What did he just say? But before we go to what he says, because what I found problematic is that at this time, the elder Billy Garland, he is unfettered at this moment. Afeni is no longer here. Tupac is no longer here. And some people who are here don't want to go into this territory. Clearly, like I said before I learned all of this stuff, is that there's something that is in this origin story that still has not been resolved. And the thing about trauma, and why am I harping on it? Because I see it as an opportunity to heal. I see it as an opportunity to be truthful and release certain energies, the energies that plagued Tupac as he grew. These are the same energies that people are kind of like afraid to explore and speak truthfully to, and it's not a good look. So instead of being distracted by all the glitz and the glamour, I'm like, wait a minute, let's go back to this point, because this point needs to be revisited. Okay. And I know I did a video on his channel called Grandma's Secrets. Let me get up Grandma's Secrets. And why we talked about that, it was actually I co-hosted the event. And why we talked about Grandma's Secrets is because I understand, especially in the community, certain things that may not be the most flattering, certain things that were missteps in history, or shows the misgivings of someone we love so much, we don't want to talk about it. But by not talking about it, it causes harm to the people who are coming behind you. I know it's difficult because, and that's also the reason why we don't heal as a community, as a people, as a collective, is because we refuse to look at the things that are unsightly. And the truth teller, grandma's secrets, hold on, the truth teller gets shunned. And this happened with the elder Dhoruba, because someone did not like his commentary on Afeni, and they actually challenged him on it because, oh, why are you talking about this? That has nothing to do with the story. It absolutely has everything to do with the story. So that I am on topic here, and so many things are going through my mind, and then I'm gonna go into the video right now. And I know, again, people like, he I don't want to talk about this because his songs were so prolific. But why? If you say you put your foot in this, what's in the recipe? What's in the water? Why is it so prolific? Why was it so heartfelt? Why was he in so much pain? Why was the person experiencing all of this? And if we truly care about the person, one of the things that the people were saying is that the person really didn't feel seen. A lot of times, a lot of these people who become stars, superstars, Marilyn Monroe and Tupac Shakur, and a lot of people Michael Jackson, a lot of times they feel unseen. They feel unheard. They feel that people are not really connecting. What we are connecting to, and I said it in a few episodes ago, it's a trauma bond. You're connecting, you're watching this person emotionally bleed all over the pages, right? And it is in this wounded state, in this trauma, that you are attracted to this person. You're not attracted to the whole healthy version of this person, because if you were attracted to the whole healthy version of this person, he wouldn't have to go to the extreme that he went to prove that he was all of these things that internally, early on, at that young child, we saw that he was hurting, felt alone, felt disconnected. But we live in a world where people don't, when you show up as that, and in need of help, people don't see that. But if you can entertain the people, if you can make them dance, if you can make them feel, then all of a sudden you become visible. And this is the problem I see with this conversation, is that we're looking, gawking, remembering someone's pain, the people's hurt, and not even allowing the conversation, not all, but what I'm listening to, allowing for the conversation to breathe in the right areas so that those wounds can heal, not only just in his situation, and they're long gone, but overall, right? So the whole solonomics of the joint is being missing. But for the purposes of me saying that there's some continuity into why sometimes I drill down in certain areas, is for these reasons. So Grandma's Secrets, here it is. So I did this with Professor Dr. Rick Wallace. What was this? It was more than a year ago. You see how many views? No views. Nobody wants to hear about it. 104. No one wants to hear about the real deal until after the fact. Way, way, way after the fact. This was a beautiful interview talking about the very same things that we're going to be talking about today, which is hiding the things that are unflavorable and unflavorable. Hiding those things because they make us feel uncomfortable, and they cause some type of internal wrestling between, I love this person, but this thing happened. I love this person, but they did this. And why am I harping on it? We don't know these people. I mean, I don't know the people, but in your real life, in your everyday life, I can almost guarantee you or somebody struggles with this. Whatever they're struggling to heal, whatever they're struggling to get past, it's difficult because the mind plays these games. This person did so much for me, but they also did this. How do I reconcile these things? How do I, the human mind wants to be polar in the sense of it's all this or all that. They're all good or all bad. And that's not the reality. We are all things in between. We do good things and we do bad things. We do things that adversely affect us, but at the same time, you may still love that person. So You know what I mean? We don't have to, but it behooves us. Y'all know I love to say that. We don't have to, but it behooves us to push beyond. And this is a perfect opportunity to have a conversation that the majority of the people are not having, including Billy Garland, who, oh, that's what I wanted to pull up first before I went into this. Because just listening to these 29 installments, let me guys show you the 29 installments. I'm like, is somebody is cooking the books. The math is not mathing. Each cut has a different a different thing that you said before. I know you're a little bit older, maybe having some slippage, but with all due respect, at this time, it behooves us to just tell the whole truth. It just behooves us. So here we have here 29, okay, videos in this playlist. 29. I've already queued up the one that I wanted to do. And so in that, it's not like it's not relevant. He keeps talking. Like your child or you're in a relationship and somebody just keep talking. You like, bro, just stop talking. You're making it worse. Just stop. And depending on who it is, you're like, oh, why? I think Billy Garland is lying by omission. And that occurs when an important fact is left out in order to foster a misconception. Lying by omission includes the failure to correct pre-existing misconception. And I'm going to support why I'm saying that. And that's with all due respect. He is someone's father. He's some people's father. He's a husband, all of those things. But people can leave out things so that the storyline can be very different than how it really happened. We see this in our everyday life because we don't want to implicate ourselves, right? And so I said that was kind of a bold statement to say, you know what, I think the elder is lying by omission. But I'm also going to support that because I'm not one of them hypey YouTubers who just like saying wild stuff for no reason. Shout out to everybody who's just joined us. So let's go ahead and get into this really quickly. I actually was listening to this on the way to the store and I was like, oh my goodness, I can't wait to get to the house because we're going to have to go into this. Let me see where I want to start this stuff up at. Let's just, before I get into, I'm going to run the new video and then I'm going to work my way backwards. Okay. So the new video that came out today says this. He has said a number of things, and some of which I have revisited here on this channel. But this is the new video. I don't know why he keeps doing it. I don't know why. All right, let's get it. And I'm not monetizing these videos because I'm using some of the audio from the videos. So.
What attracted you to the Black Panther Party?
Justice. Not seeing justice for our people, not seeing people treated the way that they should be. I came up in the 60s. I was in high school. I liked Malcolm X. They killed him. I even liked John Kennedy. They killed him.
Okay, this is just the backstory. They asked a lot of people what attracted you to the Black Panther Party. So we're just going to listen a little bit until he gets to the part, okay?
They killed Martin Luther King. This is all a series of 5 years. Kind of molded me. They killed Robert Kennedy. They killed Dhoruba in Africa. So it was a lot of death. And these are people that I looked up to, people that I liked, people who I thought were speaking truth. And then for you to assassinate them, to kill them, I think a change had to be done. And then
So a lot of youth at that time, remember we learned that his mother died when he was 6. He has a lot of trauma. He has mother issues. And now he's in high school. And a lot of youth at that time are seeing right before their eyes a lot of things happening. And at that age, you want to be able to do something. What is it that I can do? So after the civil rights movement is attacked in the way it was, and the older ones like Malcolm and Martin are taken off the scene, the young youths, because they say that the Black Panther Party was made up of late teens to early 20s, right? So this demographic of children who was like, yo, it didn't work that way. We're going to try another way. Emerge, and they come on the scene, starting in the West Coast and coming across to the East. So he's telling us why he joined, okay?
And I saw the peaceful of my people. I saw the houses of my people. I saw the lack of medical treatment for my people. I saw the lack of education for my people. And the Black Panther Party was the only organization that was willing to put their lives on the line to try and change that. And I wanted to be a part of that. Let me tell you a story. I was pretty good in basketball. I think I was all state. High school. Went to college. First college game scored 50 points. I was really the shit. I was really very good. I could have went, I believe, pro. But my political convictions made me quit college after 1 year and joined the Black.
So he gave up. This is sometimes, you listen to how people talk. There's a lot of what ifs in this story. Even with the early demise of Tupac, there's a lot of what ifs. There's a what if I had continued, I could have, but this was more pressing, right? You can see in the way in which he sits back in the chair. This is one of his what ifs. He could have, but he didn't. And the thing that he sacrificed, because it was a sacrifice, you sacrifice your education and your career, right? And the thing that you sacrificed didn't pan out. Okay, so let's continue.
The Black Panther Party. And I thought it was the greatest decision I ever made. I mean, I sacrificed a lot, but what I achieved, what I got from those experiences could never be duplicated. I could never have gotten from college. I couldn't got any of that from any place else. Any place. I would do that all over again. It's not a monetary good decision for me. I wasn't looking at it that way. Money has never been my goal.
He often talks about money, even though he says money is not the goal. When he talks about the settlement that he got, when he talks about not taking money from Tupac, even though he's saying money's not that important, he keeps bringing money up. So indeed, he has an enriching experience as a youth, but it also came at a high premium, right?
In life, to achieve that amount or any amount to make me happy. That wasn't what I wanted to do.
When did you meet Afeni Shakur for the first time?
All right, so I could have just ran right up into this part, but like I said, I think he's leaving stuff out as it relates to the Afeni situation, and I think that he's inflating certain other spaces. That's just me based on these 29 interviews. Okay, so the question now on the table is what we came here for. When did you meet Afeni Shakur? If y'all remember, like in the first or second episode of this, not knowing a whole lot about a whole lot, I had the very same questions, right? So let's listen with our ears open.
I was in the Black Panther Party. Later on, I moved up. I was the captain of New Jersey chapter of the Black Panther Party. We were stationed in Jersey City. We had chapters in Camden.
When you say we were stationed, he was stationed because to the storyline, Afeni is stationed in Harlem chapter, right? So he enters into this Black Panther Party in 69, if I'm not mistaken, okay? And in April of 69 is when they get raided. And we're going to go into that. So we have to look at the timeline because there's an unspoken truth about how this actually came in. And it's not to say, oh, yeah, his mom was out there doing X, Y, and Z. No, this plagued this young man's life. And it adversely even affected all of the people who were open to his expression of that pain and that hurt and that trauma and that unknowingness, right? Okay. So notice he's using
Asbury Park.
He's using we for him, which is interesting.
Atlantic City. And we would have these meetings in various spots in New York. Usually the Bronx, a lot in Manhattan and Harlem, sometimes in Queens. But all the leaders from all the East Coast branches of the Black Panther Party used to convene regularly, maybe weekly, bi-weekly, depends on circumstances that people were going through. And we would discuss our strategy, where we are, what we have to do. And I met Afeni at the Harlem office of the Black Panther Party.
Okay, so placement, now we know where he met her. Harlem office, Black Panther Party. Okay.
And I respect it.
We need the body, what's the name of the guy? The body language guy on YouTube, that shrug. I got to look up back what the shrug means. But if you notice, he shrugged, right? Okay, let's continue.
always thought she was a
revolutionary
revolutionary
who was willing to put
who
her
was
life
willing to
on
put
the
her life
line
on the line
like God.
like God.
So we had that
So
in
we had that
common.
in common.
Okay, what's going on at this time? Is it possible that the trial is going on at this time? Is it possible that they released her from jail and now she's out with speaking engagements? She has to go to the front because just a few other people, including Dhoruba, who we're going to hear from, were bailed out. According to the storyline of the elder Dhoruba, he said that the first person to get bailed, because he was the communications secretary, I believe. The first person who was supposed to get bail was him, and then they voted, including Lumumba Shakur and those who were in jail. They voted to let the two women come out first, and because Afeni was a better speaker and she was able to connect with the community, they decided that they were going to, this is a story that's coming from the first hand from the elder. They bailed them two out and they were supposed to now go on these speaking engagements to raise funds and awareness for the 21 defense fund. Okay, this is very important.
And that's how
we hooked up.
In the Dear Mama documentary,
he says that's how he hooked up. Remember, in another video, he says that people were just fulfilling urges and that there was no connection and that there was no romance and that there was no love. It was free love and it was beautiful because people were just hooking up. The story changed later on that he says, oh, I forgot the one when he claimed he was rubbing the belly. The story changed later on where he says that they made love or they had love. I mean, the story keeps changing, right? But let's continue.
Tupac's Auntie Gloria said that Afeni told her she didn't know who Tupac's father was. When was the first time you found out that the baby that Afeni Shakur was carrying was yours?
When he was born.
Okay, pause. He says that the first time he found out that the baby that Afeni was carrying was his, right? He says when the baby was born. But hold on, I forgot to cue this video up real quick. In another portion, he says that he knew the baby was his because he was rubbing the belly. I gotta get that. Hold on, pause. Hold on, I'm not gonna move this one from here. I should have queued that one up. How's everybody doing? Y'all give me 1 second. Let me cue up this next video. And that it's not a good look. The way the art of dialogue chopped this stuff up, the hypercritical of mine. I'm like, wait a minute. The math is not mathing. Hold on, let me cue this up. I want to pause there because he said the first time, he said, when was the first time? And if you notice, it's like when he's asking him, his face is scrunched up, his eyebrows are raised, and he looks like he is bracing for impact. If you look at his face, if you go back, get the body language guy in here, y'all. If you go back and look at the way his face looks when he's asking him, it's like he's bracing for impact. But there was another video that he said he was rubbing the belly. Come on, YouTube, don't play games with me. Hold on, let me get to the rubbing the belly video. Come on, y'all messing up my dramatic effect. Okay, let me run through this while YouTube is trying to get me to running the belly video. I kind of wanted to do it side by side, but this thing is taking so long to load. What is really good? And we have so much more to get to. Let me just let him continue. I'm going to get the video. Hold on. So the first time in this account, and remember, this is all the same. Interview. I'm confused. Let me just continue. Hold on.
Everybody knew. He was coming up to me in the Panther office. We all knew.
Look at the shrug. Look at the face. Everybody knew. They was coming up to me in the Panther office. We all knew something. The math ain't mathing.
Yeah.
He said, yeah, like he was like, yeah, that sound good. Yeah. You heard the yeah. The yeah was like, yeah, that sounds good. Ain't nobody say no.
There was no question. Until Tupac became famous.
Okay, there he says there was no question. Everybody knew There was no question until Tupac became famous. At this point, we're going to listen to Brother Dhoruba. Maybe I have too many of these. Let me close this here. I have too much this stuff open. Before I close it, let's go here. And then we're going to go to the elder. And then I'm going to go to the other part when he said he was running the belly. I thought you always knew. How you only knew when he popped out? I thought you said you was rubbing the belly. And you knew then. Okay, this picture here is on April, according to them, April the 3rd, 1969. Okay, April the 3rd, 1969. All right, and there goes Afeni in the front. There goes Lumumba in the back. And the caption says, Lumumba Abdul Shakur and his wife Afeni are escorted from Elizabeth Street Police Station in New York on April 3rd after their arrest in connection with, we already know, they hold COINTELPRO, blah, 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 zubi, zubi. Shakur and his wife were among a group of more than a dozen members. So in 1967, she is in a cultural marriage with Lumumba as his second wife. So when they go into jail, everybody knows. He's talking about everybody knew he was the father of Tupac. Okay, when they go into jail, everybody knows that Afeni, no disrespect, is Lumumba's wife, okay? They go into jail. They're in jail for a number of months. And I believe it's in January of 1970, if I'm not mistaken, where they get parole or they get, out on bond. She does. And her job then is to go around and raise funds and awareness. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and release this so that, so that's the context. Now, this elder was one of the ones who also was there with her because he's one of the next ones who gets bonded out of jail, okay? So let's go ahead and listen to what he has to say, because Billy is giving us what he remembers, everybody remembering. But let's hear what Brother Dhoruba is saying about what everybody would have known. Remember, this case is huge. This case at that time is absolutely huge, okay? So it's not something, and he comes to the Harlem office and he comes into 1969. These people who he's coming into, by this time, he would have known who Afeni was. By this time, he would have known who Lumumba was. He would have known who the Panther 21 are. Why? Because it's huge. You can't unsee it. You can't pretend that you don't. You're meeting at least twice a week. You know what's going on, brother. You knew what it was. So let's go to this video. Shout out to what's the name of the channel again? Hold on, let me go back over there. Name of the channel is Black Power Media. So now let's listen. He goes into a lot. He's 70, but he has what people would call a belly. There's some oh wait, India got to update. The net says, thank you, India, that shrugging shoulders while explaining is a hidden apology. Oops, there we go. Because did you see the way he pursed his lips? He raised his eyebrows. He braced for impact when the interviewer asked the question. And then when he gave the answer, he was like, yeah. You know how you making some up and you're like, yeah, that sounds good enough. That's kind of what I got from him. So now that we heard what he said, that everybody knew, if everybody knew, it would have been problematic, because according to what the elder Dhoruba is saying, they have to go to meet with their comrades, with the lawyers, to discuss a strategy for their case. So when Afeni starts showing up pregnant and the man that she's been with has been in jail for over a year, that is controversy. I said that a couple of videos ago before I even knew anything about it, Brother Dhoruba. I said, knowing what I know about organizations, this is a problem. So for Billy to be like, everybody knew and y'all are in this type of organization, I doubt it. I doubt it. And that's probably why Afeni did not tell the whole story about who he was, because somebody would have had a lot to answer for. That's just my thoughts. But let's get into this right here. So this is coming from a video called Dhoruba Forgot a Few Things, because the elder does like to talk and he has a lot to say. Again, he is a firsthand primary witness, one of the Panther 21. Okay, so let's listen to what he has to say.
And you talk about somebody who's the victim of male sexism.
was Janet Cyril. I know because I was one of her major defenders.
Okay, wait. He's defending himself. Just for context, he was talking about Afeni because him and Afeni apparently have a tumultuous relationship, right? In the sense of I think he was a little bit older, and they probably didn't see eye to eye, whatever the case may be. So when he said that Afeni got swept up into the investigation because she was the leader's wife, people took offense to that, and they called him sexist and misogynist. So now he's back, kind of defending his statements. Okay, so let's continue.
Janet was like my sister. I didn't appreciate whenever people demeaned her or treated her bad, because she was a sincere sister.
Okay, I like to run up a little bit. So he's talking about how he's not this sexist that they think he is, and that there were many women in the movement besides Afeni, who usually gets a lot, and Assata Shakur, who usually gets a lot of the shine.
A sincere sister that I felt like that. But what I'm trying to say here is that we pick and choose who we want to write the history about it. We write it in a way that reinforces where we at right now, rather than tell the truth. You see, and rather than try to get to the truth.
Once I heard him, I was like, uh-oh, he's the truth teller. And that's probably why he wasn't in the documentary, The Dear Mama, or the series. He's the one that, the truth teller. I could tell the truth teller, the fire started, the one who people like, well, you have to say that. That wasn't necessary. It is necessary. Absolutely. Absolutely necessary. So that we could get to the bottom. Now, how you tell the truth, he did admit he's a little bit bitter, but now he's going to go into Afeni. Let's listen. Remember what Billy just said. Everybody knew. He knew once the baby popped out. Right? That everybody knew in the office that he was the one. He was there rubbing the belly. But let's continue.
So we will pick an intersectional beef. Oh, man, you just talking about Afeni and her relationship to Lumumba. Ask yourself how Lumumba might have felt psychologically and emotionally and spiritually, sitting in a trial for a year with his wife sitting right next to him, and she's pregnant, and knowing Lumumba's character and personality, which most people don't. You see?
Did you hear what he just said? I have the transcript here, so I'll just go ahead and read it. He said, imagine, wait, let me jump down here. He said, ask yourself how Lumumba might have felt. That's who I just showed, right? The husband. Psychologically, emotionally, and spiritually. Remember, they both went to jail together. They're being escorted together. They raided them early in the morning, and she was at the house. And so they take them in together. Okay. So now they're in this place. He never comes out at this time. She does. And they're betting on her and those who are out to make their case so that they can get out of prison. Okay. So psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, sitting in a trial for a year with his wife sitting right next to him, and she's pregnant, and knowing Lumumba's character and personality, which most people don't. You see how he processed that and how he felt about us collaborating. Let's continue.
How he processed that and how he felt about us collaborating on the outside with the West Coast. And therefore they wrote a document declaring the Weather Underground, the leadership.
Okay, then he goes into another part. So that was the part I wanted to talk about, because he's saying that they are in jail. And this is what a lot of the reports are saying. And it's not that he learned he wasn't the father. It was impossible for him to be the father because he was in a whole nother jail. Okay, so but word is going to be coming back, because remember, they're an organization. They're centralizing and organizing, and there's a lot of gossip and a lot of hearsay and a lot of back and forth. Now, Billy Garland is put in a position as the person who's supposed to be taking Afeni to where she needs to be. But before we get to that part, let me see. I have to queue up another video, but before we get to that part, let's listen to what Billy said. And I played this the other day about somebody who sleeps with somebody else's wife. And in his thought, what Tupac should have done, which Tupac actually comes back and repeats the sins of the father, what he should have done was not say anything as per his father. So let's listen to that, and then I'm going to get the belly rubbing thing, where I think he done messed up when he's recounting this story. And this is the confusion that the young child felt right? This is the darkness that shrouded, among other things, shrouded him. Here, I queued this one up. Let's jump over here.
The fuck are you talking about, sleeping with somebody's wife?
Who does that?
Who does that?
That's part of the shit that he was in.
That's that environment. That tough guy. I'm so tough, I can tell you I slept with your wife. And if you did, keep your mouth shut. What's wrong with you? Why make things worse? That's all I'm saying, bro. A lot of things.
Why, if you did, keep your mouth shut. Billy, I'm confused. If everybody knew that this person belonged to this person, and you entrusted with the person to take her to engagements, which you were like, I was no driver. Then you was like, yeah, I was a good driver. But you were entrusted to take her, and in her vulnerability, I can only imagine she was vulnerable. I mean, even though everybody's like, she's strong, she's a woman. So she's vulnerable in whatever capacity she may be, okay? And now you're saying that you're outraged at your son's behavior and saying that basically, in your estimation, what he should have did was kept his mouth shut. So now I'm confused. Did everybody in the office know you slept with Lumumba's wife? Or did you guys plan to keep your mouth shut? I don't know. Because according to Dhoruba, okay, I'm making my case. I don't just jump out and call people, like saying, oh, someone lied, but the math is not mathing. I have one more to show with the brown belly, but for some reason, my computer is. Are y'all enjoying it? Am I making the case that the math is not math? And like I said, I should have put these links for you guys. Hold on. I'm going to say what? Exactly. He's like, who does that? It's like, you do that. I'm saying you talking too much now, brother. You do that, and that is why you are in the position. I think you need to just come clean with it. But there are still people who are alive. Now you're coming out. You're saying it without saying it, really. Because there's people who are alive now who know what happened, right? But and you coming out boldly with your chest saying you're Tupac's father is also saying, if what they're saying as it relates to Lumumba's wife, it's also saying, like you said, you do that. It's also saying that you laid with someone who belongs to someone else. Remember, earlier on, he said it wasn't about any, what did he say? There was no romance, and there was no I love yous, I'm your man. There wasn't all of that. It was urges. That's what he said before. And the story keeps changing. It went from urges to I'm not trying to laugh. It went from urges to I loved you till I was rubbing on your baby bump. I mean, I'm surprised there wasn't any baby shower pictures. Brother, you would have known it wasn't a good look. I think that interview I just shared there is interesting to note, because there's a lot of stuff that is contradicting a lot of stuff that's being said as relates to the whole politics that were going on internally with the people, right? Between the East Coast and West Coast, those things are revisited and people kind of have a handle on that. But I think that this part, the inception, like how someone comes into being, I've said this before, is very important. There's a level of laying the roadmap, I think, hold on, for the life of the person. He didn't say they broke his heart this time, though. Hold on, then he says they dated for 18 months. But according to the storyline, once they get exonerated, they get kind of kicked out of the Black Panther movement by Huey P. And then they go into the Black Liberation Army, which is a whole, different faction. Hold on, I'm trying to queue up the baby bump one. So essentially, I'll talk to you while I'm trying to look for this. Hold on, don't do that. Is that Billy is not telling us truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. No, Billy is he's changing the details of the story as he goes along, from what I've heard, so that it does not fully implicate him. Like, he has some places that he's comfortable talking about and implicating himself in general, but when it comes to specifics, no. They trusted you to, because you were higher in the ranks and the leadership was in jail, and you just came into the party. You had to just come into the party because you said you were in school and you left school to come to the party, right? So you came into the party, they gave you a position, and we see the way you bit your hand that you was looking for women. You may have been looking for position, right? She may have been, according to the storyline, she and the Mumba were at odds when she was in jail, because when she decided that she was going to defend herself, when she decided that she was going to defend herself, he at first didn't think it was a good idea. And so they were kind of at odds in regards to that. I think it may be this baby bump rubbing thing here. They were at odds in regards to her defending herself. And from what I've read, he and she are the same. I think he's born January 9th and she's born January 10th. So they both have this same type of energy. And she may not have been in a good space with him. You understand what I'm saying? And we already know that she had daddy issues in a relationship with her father, who was abusive verbally or otherwise. So we don't know if the relationship devolved while they were in jail. We don't know where she was emotionally that made her susceptible in this way. But when she shows up, like according to the who was saying the story, I think it was the same elder who was saying the story, that when she started showing, she had to keep coming to court. And is at that time they discover, like, oh snap, she's pregnant. Like, what are the thoughts surrounding that? What are the emotions? Like I said before, all of the emotions that the mother is feeling, the child also feels, right? Let me see if this is it. Let me see if this is it. So now we can understand his lyrics deeper, because to a certain degree, he died without knowing this information, right? He knew what he felt, but he didn't possibly know why he felt what he felt. Let me see if this is it.
When Afeni Shakur was pregnant with Tupac Shakur.
Oh yeah, this is the belly rub. This is the... You notice anytime he asks the questions around pregnancy, the body language changes. It's the hand is by the mouth, the lip is shoved up, the face is scrunched up, because this is the area right here, people. This is like, the doctor be like, this hurt, this hurt, this hurt. No, this is the area that's shrouded in mystery that can give a lot of clues. Let's listen.
Did she know that she was pregnant by you?
Yeah. You didn't have to go no farther. Yes, definitely. That's rubber belly. We knew. We knew. I could tell you probably the date that we could see if we would be.
He was over there rubbing cocoa butter on the belly. I thought he told us a few videos ago when the interviewer asked him, "Do you remember when you conceived?" He was like, "Nah, I don't remember. I might have to go get the video because I'm that type of person. Cite your references." But he was like, "Nah, I don't remember." Now, 2 seconds later, he's telling you, "Yes, I remember the exact location." Like, let me pull that back a little bit, okay? Because he was over here rubbing cocoa butter on the belly. It wasn't shea butter back then. It was cocoa butter, okay?
When Afeni Shakur was pregnant with Tupac Shakur, did she know that she was pregnant by you?
Yeah. You didn't have to go no farther. Yes, definitely. That's rubber belly. We knew. We knew. I could tell you
that's an old snap moment. Even if you were stressed, like he said, and you was just getting rid of urges, like he's saying, right? You're out here. There's a literal price on your head, literally, not figuratively. There's a price on her head. Okay, they pay, according to Dhoruba, they pay $50,000 to get her out and $50,000 to get Joan Bird out. And you're supposed to be out here speaking to the people and raising money. They got monies from the churches and different organizations that were willing to raise monies and celebrity at the time. Okay, and you have a price on your head. Your comrades, and y'all are all about community, and comrades are in jail, including your quote first husband. All right, and you're out here, and this guy here This is the boy. Who is that? Where is Alan Hughes? Because why are y'all not looking into this? You know what I mean? Why does Amuna have to stop what she's doing to come and look into this very important part right here? I'm messing with y'all, but let's continue.
Probably the date that we could see if we would.
Not the date.
We would be in certain locations that I would. Engagement maybe.
You know the date, but you also told us before you didn't know where. You didn't know. It could have been here. It could have been there. It could have been anywhere. Now you know the date. Mm-hmm.
In Connecticut, and they knew we were together. So I'm from Jersey.
I think it was Connecticut because Harlem or the other places, she would have been possibly under surveillance. She would have been watched. There would have probably been Jamal or some other people around, right? So it had to be an opportunity. He had to have had an opportunity, a window to get in her head, to get in her mind. Okay, he's this young, tall, handsome-looking basketball player dude, right? And old boy is in jail telling her that she not able to do what they need her to do because X, Y, and Z. I really gonna have to read this book too, y'all, because now I want to see whether or not she's keeping it 100 or, you know what I mean? But whatever went down, we know that it didn't go down all the way well because after this point, there's resentment, there's indifference, there's a negative energy between them, so much so that she doesn't even tell her son the truth about who he is. What made her not tell him the truth? And the interviewer actually asked that question.
They would hook it up with, I'd be charging the logistics, either airfare or even if we drove. Connecticut wasn't that far, so I'd drive her up there.
How many times did you see the interviewer is not on it, bro? How many times did you drive it to Connecticut, bro? And when you drove it to Connecticut, was it you alone? Did she go individually on the speaking engagement? He said, I can probably tell you the date. That's what he just said. But in another time, he told us he had no idea. And it was just urges.
You know, because she tried. That's the mother of my child. I'd rather be with her.
No. To my understanding, you had 2 children already, sir. And that's not she or Afeni loving and affectionately, but that's no, she was the wife, the second wife of your comrade who's in jail. That's what she was.
Her in Connecticut and have someone else up there. I think I could watch over her better.
So when you say her in Connecticut, she was pregnant while you were taking her to Connecticut?
I am sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Speaking engagement.
Okay.
She had up there.
I was trying to look for what date, because there's some speaking engagements, like one in September that I found in 1970. Remember, the timeline indicates that the conception had to be around September of 1970 if she goes full 9 months. Okay, so it has to be around this September time that conception takes place. You're telling on yourself now, Brother Billy. You're telling on yourself.
And this would probably happen.
She wasn't. Like
no, but it probably happened right before they did the indictment,
exactly,
or for the Panther 21.
Right.
Okay,
yeah, which was the stupidest shit in the world.
Right.
Now, don't change the topic. Don't change the subject. Don't change the subject. You notice, like I said, when he gets those questions, he leans up. He's at attention. He's thinking intently. His hand is on his jaw. His lips are perched. This area is like, brother, you better not ask the wrong question. That's how he be looking, right? And then you see after he gets past that part, he eases back in the chair. Hold on. Let me go back a little bit.
Pregnant by you?
Yeah. You didn't have to go farther. Yes.
I think this is what I think based on what I've heard thus far. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comment section below. Okay. I think, and I've kind of said what I thought throughout this whole screen, but I'm going to sum it up here because I would have to go find the I don't know where and when. He's lying. Yeah, I think it's by omission. He's telling the story, but he's still not telling the story in a way that's going to allow the viewer to know what really happened. So based on what he said, based on what Dhoruba is saying, based on what Jamal said when he said he was the driver and he was offended what Jamal said that Billy Garland was the driver, this is what I'm understanding. April of 1969, the heat is on. They get held up. Everybody is dispersed. They said that everybody went to different holding facilities, and the only time that they could come together is when the lawyer's there and they're having these conversations. Okay, now they have to try to decide what's going to happen. They're in jail. Joan Bird, 2 women, and the rest were men. Right, one of the first to get out is that I think there were 2 underage boys, one of which is Jamal. I forgot his last name right now. Joseph, I think. He has a book, Panther Baby, all that stuff is going on. He also was close to Afeni, and they said that Tupac called him Uncle Jamal, right? So he's also somebody who knows, but I don't think he's as raw and unfiltered as Dhoruba is, okay? Time goes along, they raise up an amount of money, and they are able to bail out the 2 women first. As a leader who's in jail now, and he's gonna be the one talking about Lumumba, the husband, he may be having his own issues that he's going through, right? And so whether or not he's confident, there's someone who was talking about that they were arguing and that he wasn't confident in her skills to be able to defend herself. Because if I'm not mistaken, it was Bobby Seale in Chicago. I think I was watching. Y'all know I was doing a deep dive in this conversation. He decided to defend himself in his own case. And so Afeni reasoned that if she's going to go down, it's going to be on her own. It's going to be on her own efforts and not that of a lawyer who misrepresents her. So she decides that she wants to also represent herself, and in which she can cross-examine the witnesses, because if it was because she was actually there. Now there's a storyline that Afeni was suspicious of one of the undercovers who was there, and she would often tell the husband that this guy is suspect. But according to the storyline, the husband wasn't listening to her. So now come to find out, the husband was wrong and she was right. And this dude was one of the key witnesses, but he was also undercover. Okay, so she wanted the opportunity to be able to cross-examine him, this, that, and the third. Whatever they come to, they decide that she is going to do that, take that strategy. They get out. According to Dhoruba, he also gets out after them. Now they are charged, go into the world and make sure people hear our case and don't forget us back here, right? You know what I mean? Remember the homies. So the thought is that this is what you're out here doing, okay? But now the heat is still on. According to what Dhoruba is saying, there's beef coming from the West Coast because the monies that they were raising, according to the story, the monies that they were raising for the defense fund of the 21 were being reallocated into other spaces. So there was a whole lot of internal politics, as well as COINTELPRO, according to the conversation, is sending disparaging letters to each faction on West Coast and the East Coast to try to get them to basically implode, okay? Huey P. Newton is out of jail at this time. The 21 are getting a lot of attention on the stage, but we have to actually remember that the West Coast or Oakland is the center. So everything has to pass through them, according to the storyline. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of stress. There's a lot of stuff going on. And it is in this space that she and he, because he's now entrusted. I told you, what is this, like the bodyguard? You remember old Whitney Houston situation? He's entrusted with transporting her, among other things. He doesn't want to be called a driver. I respect that. Logistics manager is now entrusted with one of the key. She's actually, because Joan Bird doesn't take the front, she's actually the key to this whole case of these people who are in jail right now, as well as herself, because there's also a literal price on her head. And in their moment of whatever, because we wasn't there, he could tell us the truth, though, Billy. You could just tell us the truth. Like, this is how it happened. In the moment, not only does she conceive, which according to her, before this point, she only conceived up to 3 months and she'll have miscarriages. She conceives, but and this is the seed right here, man. We can't miss this, because this is not having a father, feeling like somebody's trying to get him, feeling pain, hurt, alone, and imminent impending death was his whole, what he was experiencing. And this is how it culminated into his birth right here. So now, according to Billy, like we just heard, Billy said, even if you did, this is not me, this is not my words. Billy said, who does that? Even if you did impregnate somebody else's wife. You don't say it. And this is why when you look at spiritual principles, you realize that the Son came and said the very things he may not have been privy to, but he came and blasted aloud his sins and iniquity wherein his Father covered them. So he wanted to make it be known that as a strategic political move, he is going to, because according to what's the name of the Desiree Smith? What's the name of the lady? Vlad TV, Vlad over there, he got all the interviews. But the on and off girlfriend of Tupac said that Tupac was so upset because of the situation with the Quad Studios shooting that he assumed that it was Biggie. And in doing so, he began to plot how he was going to get him back, and setting the stage for him to look as though he violated or actually violate Biggie's wife is how he chose to do it. So the fact that he came in the front street and broadcasted him violating someone else's wife, the people who are witness to this, they said, they were like, yo, bro, this is kind of like over the top. Like, who does this? So where would he be getting this impetus from? Like, why would he go so far as it relates to the situation with Biggie? Okay. What his father kept quiet, he blasted to the masses and left it on record. And his father's response to that is, even if you did, you don't go around saying that. So now we, the youngins, we don't know nothing about this drama. We don't know nothing about this backstory. We don't know nothing about what the people thought it would be or what it wouldn't be. I put the link in the box if anybody want to share their thoughts before I go ahead and hop off. Okay. All of the links, let me just get the playlist here. And I'm just using what the Art of Dialogue has shared, and the way he cut it up, it just gave too much time to think. If you would have listened to it straight, you'd have probably be like, oh, it hurt my heart. You know what I mean? But the way he cut the situation up, it just gave too much time to think. Like, wait a minute. Didn't you say something else 2 seconds ago? And then the storyline continues that the adopted brother, or she later on goes on to marry Matula Shakur, who is in relation to Lumumba Shakur as an adopted brother or something of that nature. So we see that in this area, in the area of relationships, in the area of man choosing, Afeni may have had an Achilles heel, because we see some decision making that is not the best. Does it mean that she did not advocate for people? No, it doesn't mean that she did not get, her cross-examination of the witness led to, the 21 being exoneration. She did that. Does it not mean that because sometimes we think if we say the person had an issue in this place, that means that they didn't do this. It doesn't mean that. It just means they had an issue in that place. And according to the storyline, she harbored resentment for her father because of the way he treated the mother. And so that creates a blind spot. Anger, indifference, and resentment creates a blind spot because the father didn't meet her needs. As a daughter, one of the spaces she says he didn't see her, he didn't validate her, right? The mother actually leaves the father, and that's how.
Are you interested in starting your own
faceless
YouTube automation channel?
No, I'm not. That didn't just pop up out of nowhere.
Go to Fiverr and Upwork and hire people.
Cut it out. Just popping up talking. What are we doing here? So what can we take away? What are the takeaways besides, going into history? We wasn't there. I'm just using the clues that was left. Again, the Solonomics takeaways for me, that is resentment and indifference create blind spots. Emotionally, we're not able to see beyond the hurt that we have been experienced, especially if it's from a mother or a father. That hurt translates into the relationships that we are attracted to. There's one part that talked about Matulu being a lead, not Matulu, Lumumba being a leader and her being attracted, her sister was throwing more shade than anything, right? Like she didn't see nothing in Lumumba that Afeni would be attracted to. But whether she was attracted to his power, whether she was attracted to his stature, whether she was attracted to his intellect, right? Oftentimes we're attracted to something that is similar to something that we experience, or something that we think is going to meet the needs of a deficit that we have. Okay. But these two were like one day apart in their birth. Therefore, they had similar behaviors. And if one did not, quote, submit to the other, if they were not able to play off their similarities and appreciate one another for what they are, it would be a power struggle. Right? It would be a power struggle of who and what. You understand what I'm saying? And so according to the storyline, when she gets in there, he already has a wife and she mistreats the wife. Right. So when you see something like that, it's somebody looking to be established. It's somebody looking for power. Remember, when she comes to New York, according to the storyline, she drops out of the school because she doesn't feel like she could compete with people who have more money or more beautiful. Another part of the story that we need to not ignore is the poverty that they came from. Right? The lack that they came from. This lack creates within us other things, right? Where your needs and your priorities are focused on getting power, or getting access to capital, getting access to resources, or putting yourself in a position where you sacrifice yourself for the benefit of others. Right. So when he says that his mother cared more about the people, you want to get the people food, but they're hungry. Her children are hungry. You want to get the people food, but her children are you're fighting for renters' rights, but her children are homeless. That's a problem. A lot of people do that when we come from brokenness, is that you will sacrifice yourself. You become the sacrificial lamb because you want that acceptance. That's problematic because it's not sustainable. So if the son is experiencing this, right? You see that illustrated in the Malcolm X movie with one of my favorite movies of all time, by the way. In the Malcolm X movie, you see Betta Shabazz telling Malcolm X, "What about us?" And he was like, that iconic spot right there where he slams the table, "Don't you raise your voice in my house." You understand what I'm saying? She's like, "Wait a minute, you out here doing all this for the people. Look how many children you got over here. What about us? What about our safety?" So a lot of leaders have that savior complex, that Messiah complex, that you're going to sacrifice. The people also include the people that you are personally responsible for, right? And so that becomes a blind spot that leads to issues and problems. For those who just joined us, you're going to have to jump to the front because I did all of that informational stuff in the beginning. I'm just doing a wrap up on my thoughts as it relates to why it's important to look at this part of the conversation. I don't think Billy is telling the whole story because the whole story will not look good. If he said, "Yo, I was charged with making sure," because another part he was like, "Yeah, that other part he said, yeah, we would go here and there, and then I would drop her off at the courthouse." I'm like, huh? That didn't sound like you was loving. You saw her as a revolutionary. You came into the movement because you wanted to be a revolutionary and you wanted to get access to leadership. And she was leadership in that space and time. And the fact that you violated the trust of the people who charged you to lead her, even if she was weak, even if she was vulnerable. Let's just say she was like, "Oh my goodness, you so fine." You know what I mean? Whatever. You as the man, even though you were young, should have been like, "Nah, shorty." No, they didn't. "Nah, sister." They don't say shorty back there. "Nah, sister, I'm not able to do that." You know what I mean? In respect to my comrade. And I think more so he's willing to show her in a disparaging light, but oftentimes males get checked by males. So amongst the men, to be seen as somebody who did this thing, I don't think at that time back then it was advantageous for him to jump out the woodwork and be like, "Yeah, brother, wait, Lumumba, brother, it was me." Because remember, they get exonerated in what was that? What did they get exonerated in early 1971? Right? Let me see. I don't want to tell no lies on them. When is the case over? I think it's January. Hold on. I think it's January. I learned more about the Planter 21 from this thing than I ever knew. Why? Because here comes Billy with his 29 episodes of what happened that don't sound like that's what happened. Let's see. They got acquitted in May. So he's born in June. So she's a full 8 months pregnant. Full 8 months pregnant and then the next month he's born. So, hey, Queen T, what's going on? She's a full 8 months pregnant. And that means if she gets out of jail, okay, who else gets out of jail? Lumumba. Who else gets out of jail? The other brothers, okay? So I don't think at that time everybody I could be wrong, everybody in the Panther office would have known, and nothing happens. There's no story that when he comes out of jail, I mean, maybe there is a story and we don't know what happens when he comes out of jail, knowing that it wasn't him. You don't think this man is going to want to know who it is? Let me do it. Y'all remember Dick Gregory? He used to go, I used to like watching those interviews. He'd be like, You gonna tell me that nobody was like, yo, Indians say Billy's story isn't what happened. His story is see what had happened was. And, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, what had happened was. That's what I'm feeling like. I'm feeling like the story is drunk. This story is not walking straight. Okay? And so I think based on what he told us, it would have been advantageous for them initially not to say who the father was. And this is why she's saying that the sister, Glow, is saying that her sister told her she didn't know who it was. Because I'm thinking, if you're a revolutionary and you're saying that it is a gangster man's child, right? And you're out on parole, was it easier to say that, did y'all make a cover story? You feel me? Kind of like how your son had a cover story of how he lured Faith Evans out to do the track. You wonder why they call you a bee? He had a cover story. He had to concoct. When you're looking for, and I'm talking about present time, and again, I've said this before, but for those who are new, with this theory, right? Even though it sounds like, yo, she's spinning theories. With this methodology, I've been able to research and put together up to 5 generations of my family history with just a little bit of information and some Ancestry.com documents and some family search documents, because it's how you think about how I've studied all of these years about how we the people move and what motivates us to move. And then you look at the behavior repeated in the next generation, and you have to say, yo, this behavior came from somewhere. It didn't just pop up. So the fact that the son went through all of this pain to concoct a story, to lure Faith Evans to, and look when he lured her. Who was just telling that story? He lured, this is Tupac, Faith Evans to the studio when Biggie was on tour. Okay, that means the husband was not in the area. According to the witnesses, Puffy had them on a promotional tour, and the only person who was getting paid was Biggie and security. Okay, that's the security officer who was saying that. Please forgive me, I don't remember his name. The only person who was getting paid was security and Biggie. Faith Evans wanted to get paid and said that she wasn't going on tour. And look, to this day, Faith does not tell the truth. According to all of the witnesses, to this day, she doesn't tell the truth about the story. Sounds familiar? Does this sound familiar? Now I just made a dot while I'm talking to you. To this day, everybody's like, the next guy named Danny Boy and some other people who were there, they were like, I saw her come there. I don't know why she doesn't tell the truth about the story. To this day, that sounds similar to what happened the generation before. So the husband is out the picture. He's doing something. There is some type of situation where Faith Evans lures to with money. Okay, and according to the story, after she does the recording and she's looking to get, I think it's like 25,000. I don't know how much he's gonna pay her. Don't quote me on the payment. He, according to the storyline, says, "Nah, you gotta slow me up in order to get this payment." That's the storyline. And according to the on and off again girlfriend, after he does it, he calls her the next day and tells her what he did. Okay, so sounds like a repeat of history to a certain degree. And the son, there's a Bible story on David. Like, I'm where you get all this stuff from? It's called reading, brother and sister. No, but spirituality showed you there's a Bible story on David. Let me pull that one up. And the Bible story says, what you have done in secret, your sons will do in the open. Hold on. Where David, oh snap, David lays with Bathsheba, if you remember the story. And Bathsheba is Uriah's wife, right? And David waits to Uriah is out of town, and David is over there all on the roof peeping on people while they're supposed to be bathing and stuff, sending his homies to go get her, like, yo, go get Shorty. And then Shorty comes through. She feels like she can't resist because dude is the king. Next thing you know, he violates her and does what? Impregnates her. Very interesting storyline, right? So what does he do? He tries to do what? Cover it up. This is ancient as time. It's like, oh snap, your husband is not here, and there's no way it could be him. So I'm gonna cover it up. That's what David does. So what David does is try to get the husband, because she sent word, but like, yo, David, yeah, remember that whole rendezvous? Yeah, check this out. And he was like, woe is me. So he sends for the husband, like, yo, come home, bruh. You know what I mean? You've been out in the field too long. And then he tries to ply him with wine and tells him, go home to your wife. I know you ain't seen Shorty in a while. And the husband's like, there's no way I could do that because we're fighting on the front line. I'm not going to do that. I won't betray my country like that. So he refused to go home. Therefore, David could not pin the belly on him. What was David, the king of Israel's intention? His intention was to pin the baby on the husband. In this case, they couldn't have pinned the baby on Lumumba because Lumumba was in jail, right? So now it's like, you got a belly. I don't know who we gonna pin it on. Enter this guy, because I'm thinking, why would you say that he thought it was a gangster guy? How did, like, what you was trying to raise money? I'm not trying to be funny, but why would it be from the revolutionary to the gangster guy? That doesn't add up. I think there might have been a cover story in that situation. And if Billy, this is where this is my, not even allegedly, this is me just thinking the way in which stuff progresses. If Billy goes into that, he would have to uncover the whole thing. Hold on. So in the story, in the biblical story that kind of mirrors this, is that what happens, and essentially, David gets tired of waiting for Uriah to do right. So he sends message and he puts him in the heart of the battle, and Uriah falls by the sword. Right? So now it's free and clear for Dawid to be like, aha, you know what I mean? Come on, shorty. That particular baby dies. He impregnates her by comforting her. And then she has another child, and that child is Solomon. So my point is, in this situation, it's similar in that if you impregnated somebody who was off limits, and according to him, if you do, you don't say, then there needed to be a cover story to say that she doesn't know where she takes the fall for what both of you did. Right. And so even though, according to you, you knew at the hospital, you knew from that moment. And I'm saying it could be another way, but according to what it's looking like to the public, that's what something to that effect had to have gone down. And possibly if she took that hit for you, she could have been looking for something more. Right. And according to one more thing that I found interesting is that Dhoruba, the guy who was there, says that the reason that she and him, they have to go back to jail is because they don't show up for court. And according to him, this is according to his story, they told her, hey, they had ways of, getting to Canada and getting to Africa. And they told her, yo, we not going in. This is, what I mean? And they told her, you either gonna come. And she decided that she's not gonna come and that she's gonna face the music. The elder said that Afeni told him to his face that she's not going, and the reason why she's not going. Okay, so by this time she would have been pregnant with Tupac. She may have been in an emotional space with whoever she was in, and she didn't felt that it was right for her to leave for whatever reason, right? And she faces the music. So again, that's my thoughts on that. I'm trying to find the one scripture, and then I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up. Hold on. Nobody have anything to share? Here we are. This is in the book of 2 Samuel 12, right? We have to see just how history repeats itself. 2 Samuel 12 says, this is when the prophet is coming to him like, yo, bro, we saw you. It says here, you did it in secret, meaning you violated Bathsheba in secret, right? And then he goes on to say that, but I will do this thing before all of Israel, before the sun, right? And then it goes on to say what's going to happen, which is David's sons are going to violate his concubines in the story. David's sons violate his father's concubines for all of Israel to see. Like they literally went to the roof, right? It says, so they pitched a tent. This is 2 Samuel 16:22. So they pitched the tent for Absalom on the roof, and he slept with his father's concubines in the sight of all Israel. So in one generation, it was hidden. And in the next generation, it was on display for all to see. In one generation, possibly, he is the son of something that was hidden. And this caused him great angst, consternation, confusion. Marlon Wayans actually said a thing. I was listening in passing to this documentary, Tupac Resurrection, and Marlon Wayans talked about the reason why he didn't go off track is because he had a father who would be his behind, and that Tupac didn't have that representation in his life, and that is what contributed to him going off course, is what they're saying, right? So this is not a small matter because it is a reoccurring theme throughout the whole stinking storyline. And the fact that people are not being honest in 2023 so that we can go on with our lives and stop giving us 20, 50, 100 episodes of I'm not giving you the whole truth is not advantageous. That's just my thoughts. I'm going to go ahead and one more time and then I'm a boogie. That's that. I made my case. Let me know your thoughts. You understand? Yeah, he made the whole video for the world to see. The father did it in secret. The father said it was a good beat, but why would he do that? So the father's still holding on to, if you did that, boy, you better hold that down. Don't tell nobody. And he knows within himself, if this is what went down, that basically your son is showing that iniquity. He's exposing it because he doesn't have the same filter that you have. And Afeni also, to a certain degree, however that situation turned out, she is the one who would have had the stain, right? She would have had the stain before the people. She would have had the stain in the organization. She would have had the scarlet letter. And he had to make it. And then he could have went off, married Carol, as he said, and lived his life and had more children. But she's the one who carried, in the midst of the trial, she fell pregnant. How you fall pregnant? You don't fall pregnant. The news reports are hilarious. They're talking about she fell. You didn't fall pregnant. Okay, you fell pregnant. In the midst of all of that, she shows up with the belly, and nobody knows who the poppy is. And so there's a lady that came on. She was like, "You didn't have to bring up that Afeni didn't know." Let me go one more place. I know I said I was done, but y'all, I was listening to these reviews, and I was just like, "That's the problem right there." When you did misdiagnosing the problem, that's the problem. Let me. Hold on one second. This is another elder who was upset because Dhoruba said what he said concerning not knowing who the father was. And then I'm going to end on that. It's some interesting history, man. Y'all know I'm all about learning about history. Reading 1 year of straight of slave narratives on the internet must let you know that history, to me, it is so freeing when you're able to not necessarily judge, oh, why did you do that, this, that, and the third, but just accept, hey, the person did that. That's what happened. That's how it happened. That's how it went down. And that's what led to this. You feel me? That's what led to, oh, you wouldn't know. If it didn't go this way, would you have known him in this capacity? Would he have been this broken soul who was crying out in the way he was? It may not, because the pain wouldn't have been there for you to experience in that way. So like I was saying before, a lot of these entertainers are broken. It's their pain that people are connecting with. Hold on. One more and then I'm done. Hold on, let me. Oh, here it is. Here we are. And then I'm, all right. All right, let me share my screen and then we're gonna wrap. Now, this is someone who heard the interview that I was sharing with you, and she wanted to respond because she didn't like what the elder said, but listen really closely.
Cultural product from Hulu and FX. That's what it appeared like to me. I remember two sisters who came at me like, yeah, so what was up with that misogyny? I was like, I had, not so much I had missed it. I think I had like blacked out temporarily. I was like, what misogyny? The whole wife thing. I was like, oh yeah. And as I'm remembering the wife thing, there's the part about not knowing Tupac's father. And as Bunchy brought up, why is that even here? What in other words, what's going on? But what I wanted to say was that.
So the fact that the elder brought up not knowing Tupac's father, the sister also, Gloria, she brought that up as well. So is it misogyny to question the paternity of the father and to say to repeat the story that was told to them? For if the sister is saying that she said she didn't know who the father was, that means that is something, and they told him, Tupac, that she didn't know who the father was, and it was this person, it was that person. That's the story that they chose to go with. So Billy Garland saying that everybody around the office knew, when other people are saying that she said herself that she didn't know, the I didn't know was either Billy's telling the truth or Afeni's telling the truth. And the reality is that I didn't know maybe was the cover story for what you actually knew, because the fact that both of you guys were in the party, it would have been problematic. I just wanted to share that. And the objection of the people who are watching it, like I said, is the unwillingness to look at the truth of the matter, to say, hey, you know what? This is how it happened. This is what actually happened. And it wasn't the best of situations, and it caused a lot of fallout. This is how we approach it in my imaginary world, right? And then I'm a wrap. You know what? They was in jail. Everybody was in jail. It was a crazy time. I came out. It was a lot of pressure because according to some reports, she came out and it was too much pressure. She availed herself of some supporting chemicals, okay? And, she had moments of vulnerability, and you did something that you're not proud of, right? And the people were counting on me. There was a whole lot going on. And Tupac, this is what the situation is. For Billy to say Tupac came to his house when he was younger, maybe when the situation blow over or whatever the case may be, that means he knew and she knew. Now, did he come in open, or did she come like, was it a hush hush? We don't know. I don't know. But that's my thoughts. Let me know yours. I'm going to go and do what I need to do now because this is just so interesting. I pray everybody have a blessed day. And let me drop this one in the box so you can watch it at your own discretion if you care. If not, then, you know, it is what it is. And yeah, everybody have a blessed day. All right. 1.